I'm going to spend in the next 15-20 minutes, I'm going to try to change the way you view social media. All right? So there we go. There's our social media person. So when I started doing this and talking about social media to high school students, the general perception of this issue was social media can only stop me from getting into college, can only prevent me from getting a scholarship. Okay? But it's really not that way. So let's understand what I call the first audience. What social media, what most teens right now have on social media. You're posting things that your friends are going to like, right? You put stuff on Instagram, you want 100 likes, right? Who will take something down on Instagram if it gets less than a certain number of likes? Come on, you can raise your hand. No one? I usually get everybody to raise a hand in this. I got one. Okay. So typically what you're doing is that you're engaging with your friends, and that's okay. You're putting things out, you either joke or an experience, and you want people to see it. And that's building a record, because on this screen you'll see that everything you put down has two things in common. It's permanent, and it's discoverable. And we'll get in a little bit later on why it's discoverable, even if you're anonymous, even if you're under a different name, but it is discoverable. But these aspects could work to your advantage, because let's take a look what's happening. These are the 11, 12 hardest schools to get into in the country, all right? Now don't freak out over this, but the gold bars, okay, are the number of students that were rejected in last admission cycles, and the blue at the bottom are the number of students who were accepted, okay? Now before you go, oh my God, all right, understand the absolute dilemma that admissions officers have. And by the way, I picked the 12, Ivy League, and then 4 of the other schools. These are the toughest schools. But it continues. If you go down 50, 75, it probably gets up to about a 20%, 25% admittance rate. The problem is, there's more applicants because people from all over the world want to go to school here, okay? But it's also the Common App. All right, where you can fill out one application and apply to 25 schools. Back when I applied to school, I had to type on a typewriter a separate application for each school. I think I applied to 2 colleges. All right, it wasn't worth it anymore. So now for the same amount of work, you can apply to 40, and you're seeing that in these numbers. But what you're also seeing is that there is not enough separation in GPA, that you're working really hard on your transcripts, your SAT scores, your essays. There's just not enough spread to differentiate among all these students. So what are admissions officers doing? I don't know if you can read it, but these for the last 4 years are showing the percentage of admissions officers in the first column, in the first grid, who have Googling candidates. All right, in the middle column have checked social media sites. And that was really interesting, and we'll talk about it because there was a drop-off in the orange column. Those would be the number of students that were negatively impacted by what admissions officers found. All right. Now, if you're in 9th grade, 10th grade, and you can just look at the trajectory. Right now, it's 35% of admissions officers at the top 500 schools are looking at social media. If you project that out in 2 or 3 years, it's going to be 50%. And this is just the beginning of it. What's interesting, though, about the drop-off in negative, and I don't think there's anything, I got involved in this business, by the way, because all the talk was negative, in the negative. If they see your social media, you're going to get rejected. And I've spoken to admissions officers. They're looking not to find reasons to reject you. They're looking because they want to learn more about you. All right? There's a lot of people out there, similar credentials. They want to get to know you. It's a great opportunity to shine and to distinguish yourself, no matter what you want to do. So, a couple of things, why the numbers have dropped. First of all, most of you are active, if you are active, on Snapchat, okay? And that's why there's less stuff going on Facebook. I'll just let you know, I think Snapchat is great, all right? I think it's just a great way to have fun, and you're not having a digital footprint that's searchable. But just one word of advice, they don't disappear. All right? The federal government just sued Snapchat for false advertising. The stuff doesn't disappear. It's hard to get to. Just ask Jennifer Lawrence if they disappear. Or there was, you know, there was another leak of Snapchats. Just be careful. You can have fun on it, but they're still around. The other thing is you're never anonymous, all right? And this is just a passing advice. Whether it's Yik Yak, After School, Ask, any of these sites that you're having fun on, you're not anonymous. And you want to know why you're not anonymous? Because you're using a phone or a device that's registered to you. All right, every week the police are arresting another teen for doing something stupid on sites where they thought they were anonymous. So you're not. Keep that in mind, have fun, you can use them, but it's not foolproof, either of those. Let's go back to my presentation. So when admissions officers look, you want them to find you. All right, if an admissions officer is looking for a 17-year-old or an 18-year-old and you can't be found on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, anywhere, they're going to assume you're hiding something and it's not going to help you. So you want to be found. So what we talk about and what we think you have to understand, two concepts: mistaken identity. Your name is probably the worst identifier in the world, all right, because there are hundreds, if not thousands of people who share your name. So the worst thing about not getting into a school because of something you did is not getting into school because of something someone with your name did and they thought it was you. All right, so you want to own your identity. And you also want to make it easy to find. All right, and there's ways you can do that. Okay, now more importantly, forget about admissions officers looking at you. All the schools are inviting your engagement. Who here knows what demonstrated interest is? It's an important concept, all right? Demonstrated interest is showing an interest in a particular school. That a school will believe that if they accept you, you will enroll, okay? And that's an important element for their decision-making process. So schools have a very active presence on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, etc. They want you to engage. They want you to ask questions. And they're recording all interactions. There are software suites that they're using that measure the number of times you call, you email, you tweet, you mention them. All right? And all this goes towards a demonstrated interest quotient, which does help in admissions. They're also monitoring all of their feeds. All right? It's a very important part of their marketing, their presence. So here's an example. Student in Michigan, okay? She just puts out a tweet, and can somebody read it? Can Michigan State tell me already if I got accepted? She just put it out there. She didn't tweet it to Michigan State. She wasn't asking them a question. She just put out a tweet. Half hour later, this came back. All right? If you can read it. Now, you know, this is okay. She kind of demonstrated interest. She wants to go to Michigan State. Accept me already. Here's the problem. Michigan State probably clicked on her profile, and here's what they saw. Now think about it for a second. She's engaging. She's putting it out there. I want to go to Michigan State. Michigan State sees it. But this is what her Twitter account looks like. It's really not going to set the right impression. But it could have. My argument to you is that this could have been a great step for her. And we'll get into examples of how in a second. We'll go through another miss. Instagram. All the schools have very active Instagram accounts. I encourage you right now, start following schools on Instagram. See what they're posting. You'll get an idea of their culture, what's important to them, the rhythm of their campus. On this one, you'll see Noah Compton said to Stanford, "Hey, I'm visiting there today." Again, I would think this is a great thing for him to do. All right, I'm visiting. Somebody in the admissions office is going to click. Here's what they saw. Now I'll tell you what. I looked into this. Noah is not a Nazi, and Noah is not a racist. But an admissions officer wouldn't know it. Okay? The Hitler picture was, unfortunately, when the U.S. was playing Germany in the World Cup this summer, and Noah lacked judgment. But that's what they saw of him. Okay? However, Here's what we're talking about. The power of the first impression. You can engage, you can talk to schools, you can engage with them on Instagram if your profiles are taken care of. Zuli in the upper left, right? Zuli has a beautiful LinkedIn profile for a high school student. She wants to go to med school, okay? Everything on LinkedIn is geared towards that, okay? It's really fascinating to see. Owen Chen loves architecture. His Instagram site, he's curated photos, beautiful photos of buildings from around the world. So any school that sees his Instagram site and he wants to go in, he actually got accepted to Stanford for architecture this year. We helped him out. All right? They saw that. All right? It shows his interest, his deep-seated interest in this subject matter, that he's really curious, he wants to learn. And then Paige, her Twitter account. What if the girl who wanted to get into Michigan State, if Michigan State clicked on it and saw this? You know, serious, thoughtful, a good picture. It makes a difference. It's going to have them take notice. And the more these schools can take notice of you, the better. So where you should be. All right? LinkedIn is not for people like myself. LinkedIn, in the very start, is where you should be. You put out your profile. It's what you aspire to be. Not what you've done, what you aspire to be. You can follow universities. They have university pages. Facebook, you're not active socially on Facebook anymore, but it's where people are going to be looking to assess your character. You can build that out with your hobbies, your activities, photo essays, describing your leadership, other attributes that you want to sell to colleges down the road. Start building the content. Google+, not to be active on it, the About page, fill it out. It will alleviate mistaken identity, and it will create a good identity for you. So if somebody Googles your name, you'll own your name, okay? Twitter, very stupid tool to communicate with your friends 140 characters at a time. Not a better tool on the planet to start networking. Start following people in colleges, professors, influencers in areas that you're interested in. Follow them, follow what they're saying. Retweet some things. You'll be surprised at how your network grows, and sometimes you are judged by who you follow and who follows you on Twitter. And I think the most important thing that I want to put out there, blog. Blog about whatever you want, whatever interests you, whatever your passion is. But the ability to write and showing the world that you have the ability to write is so important. Put it out there, create a presence, create content. That's it. I have a lot more I could have spoken about, but I just wanted to give you an overview. I think social media is something that is just growing. Whether or not it's for college admissions, it's certainly for internships, certainly for scholarships, and certainly for career. So the earlier that you can start building your presence out, the better. Thank you.